So you've probably heard of the company Monster Fairing before. If you're into motorcycles and you've had bikes for a long time, or you work in the industry, or if you have an older bike that has some scuffed up fairings on it and you're looking to get them replaced, you've probably come across that company before. A lot of big YouTubers have done a lot of review videos on it before, but they're always usually sponsored. This is not a sponsored video, or at least at the time of this recording it's not. So I wanted to give you the best opinion that I can on Monster fairing kits and kind of go over some of the great things about Monster fairings and then like the downside and some of the cons about Monster fairings, because it's not perfect, but they are a pretty great company to go with. And even though they are a US based company, at the end of the day, they are still Chinese kits. Okay, saying that they're Chinese kits kind of gives them a bad rep. I know. If you ask anybody that's professional in the industry, they'll say, don't do Chinese fairing kits, they're terrible, blah, 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 blah. It is true. Chinese kits are the worst. I hated installing them on motorcycles, and it got to the point where we wouldn't install them at all for customers because the fitment was never good. You were never happy with the quality of it and how the bike came out. However, Monster Fairing Kit, actually, they do a great job. I've installed a couple of their kits, and it's one of the only brands that I would consider working with professionally in the industry for installing aftermarket kits for bikes. And it's the only thing I recommend to customers. The number one benefit to going with a Monster Fairing Kit would be the cost. The cost of repairing this bike OEM from Honda is kind of ridiculous in my opinion, especially because it's a 2009. A little bit older, so not a whole lot of people want to put a lot of money into the bike. So getting OEM parts can be pretty expensive. So for example, just this black panel, not even these are two pieces. This panel, $224. Rear cowl, that's $300. The OEM tank cover, it's not even a gas tank, it's just a cover. Anywhere from $500 to $700, which is more or just about the exact cost of an entire body kit from Monster Fairing, just for that one piece. So this kit in particular was $640 from Monster Fairings, and the owner wanted to go with an OEM style kit. That's another benefit of going with Monster Fairings, is they do make really good OEM style replacement fairings. What if you don't want to go OEM style? Not everybody likes stock, you know? We want to customize a little bit. That's another unique thing with Monster Fairings, is you can really customize the look of your bike with a Monster Fairing kit, which is definitely one of the unique things about them. You can also talk to them and ask them to do some custom colors or to make something completely different and completely custom for you. Build time obviously varies when you do that, but that's a pretty neat option and it's a lot of fun, especially if you have an older bike. You can't always get parts and get fairings for your bike from a manufacturer, so to be able to not only get the replacement fairings that you need, but also get something cool and custom at the same time, really awesome. Some aftermarket fairing kits or just cheap, really cheap kits that you find on Amazon or eBay, they'll start to melt pretty much right away, like literally the first ride. Some of these other ones that I've done with Monster Fairings, when I've installed them a year or even 2 years later, they still hold up just like OEM fairings do, which is really nice to see. No melting or anything like that. So that's cool. And I want to say they're the best fitting aftermarket fairing kits, but I want to test it with this kit first. Let me get this installed and then we'll actually see, are they actually truly the best? Because this and the CBR1000, probably one of the more annoying aftermarket kits to put on. They always have fitment issues. So let's see if that still holds true with this bike. And just like that, back together, looking gorgeous again. It was, however, a little challenging to get it to fit. So the fitment didn't quite line up very well with the tank cover. The two bolts here, I was having to pull it forward and down to try and get it to pull the cover on basically and to get it to line up. Then the nose of the bike was fitting really well, but then the rest of it in the back wasn't fitting. I was basically paying like a tug of war, which always happens. So especially with these kits, So it wasn't perfect, but I just left that bolt out. That gives it a little bit more flexibility, and it ended up lining up pretty nice. And speaking of being clipped in, this is definitely one of the better fairing kits that fit around the nose and in the front, around the headlights, and this clip right here, meeting the gas tank. Definitely the best ones that I've seen so far, and everything is clipped together really nicely. It was quite a stretch to get this one in here. However, it's so tight, it's kind of one of those things where like when I hit a bump on a test ride, I'm afraid it's just gonna poof and go everywhere. So hopefully that doesn't happen, but it just feels that way, you know what I mean? Like it's just so tight and so stretched to get everything lined up. Other than that, the fitment was pretty great, and definitely the best fitting kit I've ever put on this gen CBR. Again, one of the more challenging ones to get aftermarket kits to actually fit really well. So I would say fitment wise, it was like a 7.5 out of 10. Pretty good, definitely the best one I've seen so far. We have had fitment issues in the past with like a ZX14. The solo seat cowl like this, supposed to slip over top of the seat because it doesn't clip in like this one. It was a banana seat, and that didn't quite fit very well at all. So, you know, like I said, it has some fitment issues, but it's not too bad. And I didn't have to like drill out holes, which you normally have to do a lot of when you're trying to put aftermarket kits on, because they're never drilled out large enough or in the right spot, that kind of stuff. So what are some downsides with Monster fairing kits? The paint is, while it is a positive thing, it is a great thing that it's like spot on every single time. It's also a downside to their paint. And then there's also ship times. Shipping takes a long time. At the end of the day, like I said, these are Chinese kits. So this was supposed to be put together in the winter of some time, like I was hoping January, February. We ordered the kit early December. We didn't get it until like last week, and it is April. So that was kind of annoying, but it does happen. We did order it over the holidays, so I'm sure that slowed some things down. But I've ordered one even in the summer, and it still took close to 3 months to get. So that's one downside to Monster fairing. So if you're doing a winter project and you actually want to work on the bike in the winter, you might want to actually order that kit like end of summer or beginning of fall. So that's the ship time downside. The other one is the paint. The paint is always amazing with Monster fairing, but the one downside is it doesn't quite match up with OEM colors. So you can see this green is significantly lighter than the green that came on this kit, even though it is the same style, like OEM style kit with the green, black, and the silver. It just doesn't always match. And we've also had that issue, again, actually with that ZX14, they didn't make a tank cover for the ZX14. So we were like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. Like it looked like the paint was gonna match up in the pictures with an OEM color. It didn't, it was pretty far off. However, it does look gorgeous, but getting that tank painted has been a pain. Even trying to talk to Monster fairings and trying to get them to give us a paint code, they just never would, which is really frustrating. And then we've had issues trying to find paint shops that can match it. Even the ones that are able to like, scan or something. I'm not a body technician or anything like that. I don't do any kind of paint work, so I don't really know how all that works, or what machines they use. But they were trying and they still couldn't quite get it to match. We think we found something, and hopefully maybe I'll throw some shots of that in there when I actually get that back. But that tank's been gone for like 6 months now. It's been bouncing around paint shops. Overall, I would give it probably an 8 out of 10 Monster fairings. They are really great fairings to go with, and they have some downsides to them, but it's really not as bad as some of the other ones on the market. The nice thing is when you combine that with an XK glow kit, some other aftermarket accessories, you can really change the look of the bike and really just make it look either super cool and custom, or you can just bring an old bike kind of back to life and make it look showroom almost ready again, which is really fun, really cool. And it's not like costing you thousands of dollars or having to jump around to paint shops and all that fun stuff. Like, it is much easier to just install a fairing kit and call it a day. So that's it for this video. I'm gonna get this off the lift, give it a wash, get these rims looking a little bit cleaner, do some test rides, and then yeah, call it a day. Well, call it a week. It was a busy week. Actually, you should get subscribed because we do all kinds of things with motorcycles, and I get to ride a lot of different bikes, like this Chrome R1 that came through the shop. This thing's gorgeous. ZX10, obviously, still getting some work done on that. Z1000, and did resurrect that. And we also had a really cool BMW come through this week for some mods, and hopefully we'll be doing more on that one later this summer as well. So thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video.